Hello, Steve Horton from Horton & Sons in Birmingham. We've done a post recently on our blog, The Adventurers, and pushed it out through some social media channels about a gun, a set of barrels from a 1920s English side-by-side that were damaged beyond repair by the use of steel shot. Now, as we said in that post, and I'll say it again now, we do believe it was high performance steel that was used, and the chap unfortunately has now got a big bill, or he will have, for rebarrelling that gun. But there's a number of reasons why we believe that gun would have been damaged from the use of standard steel, and that's why we say to you, just be careful when you're using steel in any gun. But if you think about it like this, if you look at an OU made in the 70s or 80s and not proof for high performance steel, they haven't got high chrome content barrels, etc., or chrome lined. The very nature of an OU means that the barrel, the tube itself, is relatively straight. In the case of that 1920s side-by-side, it had had a rib relay at some point in its life, and whoever had done that work had, when relaying the ribs, had over tightened that barrel set, so there was more of a sweep in that barrel than you would normally expect. And the other thing about relaying ribs is what you're doing in effect is when you're laying the solder, you do heat the barrels up, so you do anneal the steel a little bit, so you would naturally make it softer. Any heat, leave it to cool, it will remove the hardness from any steel. That's how you anneal anything. So first off, those barrels were not straight. A lot of side-by-sides aren't straight or perfectly straight, they do sweep. The bigger the back end, etc., will create more sweep. In those, as I say, that was over exaggerated because someone who ever laid those ribs in the past or relayed those ribs had tightened it in the middle. So that's why you see a lot of the damage in the middle, and that comes from simple physics. It's centripetal force. So for example, you drive your car down the road, you're going around a bend, there's only so far you can push it and then it slams into a ditch, right? Or you go into a ditch with your car. It's exactly the same with a steel cartridge, because it's a solid piece in a cupped wad being pushed down a tube. Secondary factor in that is the forcing cones on a side-by-side were always meant for fibre wads and lead. So it's got a short half-inch forcing cone, right? And the longer the forcing cone generally will give you it doesn't reduce the pressure at all, but it gives you less recoil and it just evens the pressure out a little bit on the gun. So a 1970s, 80s OU will be more akin to be used for steel than say a 1920 side-by-side. It's just simple, right? So just wanted to clear that up because we've had quite a few questions and comments, about the chap shouldn't have used high performance steel, he'd have been fine with standard steel. He wouldn't have. Another factor is the aperture of those guns. So a 12 gauge, standard 12, 18.4mm, 729 of an inch, is your standard 12. Those have been reproofed at 739 in early noughties, so the aperture was bigger, there was more sweep in them. The wall thickness was fine at around about 22. It's marginal, but there should be enough in it, given the pressures used from a standard cartridge. But the damage you see and the ring bulges you see in that barrel, we believe is from it's where the sweep is more pronounced. So you can see some ring bulges where the pressure is greatest as it comes out of the cartridge. And then what happens is there's very little, then it hits the bend in the sweep in the barrel, and we think it's rocked side to side, and that's what's created the most damage in those barrels and made them irreparable. It's basically made the steel go to the maximum of its resistance of flex, because all barrels do flex, and it's gone beyond that, and that's what's caused the damage. So we just wanted to clear that up anyway. Thanks a lot. Cheers, bye bye.